Hello again, Struck. Today I'm bringing you another build video for Warhammer Chaosbane, and this one is for the Scout Elessa. It's another rework of a previous build video of mine, and a good one at that. It's Executing Blades 2.0, which now gets so much more cooldown reduction. I can spam the heroic spinning blades. By default I'm getting 4-second cooldown, and that's excluding procs like the Master Archer Bow, the Ember Talisman, or the Ring of the Guardian ring. So with those three items combined with an Executor's blade and the Queen's Chosen set, together with the god skills I've selected, we can kind of have a lot of nice spamminess of the executing blades. We have enough health regeneration. I'm not focusing on the health regeneration with this build this time around like I used to in my previous poison setups. I'm focusing on the cooldown reduction and on being able to spam executing, not the executing but the spinning blades heroic. So definitely an interesting way to play it. It may not be to everyone's liking because you have to be moving all the time, because if you stay still solo, most of the times you might take big hits which might end up being fatal. But as you can see, I'm moving around, I'm spamming the blade, I'm moving around, I'm spamming the blade, and in between I'm also using a trap to help with the dual exchange reaction. I'm also using brambles when I can to stack some more damage and to keep proccing those cooldown reducing items. Overall, it's fun to play this build, but it's not for everyone, and Elessa in general is not a meta hero. That means any build of hers is not gonna be as meta as for example Avontir or Conrad or Kiwa or Bragi. In general, it's a fun build overall, so I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's to your liking. You might consider replacing some things, reworking some of the passives that I've taken in the skill segment. You would hear some suggestions what you might change and what might just be optional and so on. So let's start with showing you the god skills and then the skills afterwards. It's a new way of showing the things for me. So here are the god skills I've decided to pick up for this build. On the first god skill tree, which everyone should have even if they don't have the god skill tree, the god skill pack DLC, we are going all the way here to Blessing of the Forest Superior. Then we are going on the other side all the way here for that cooldown reduction, grabbing this cooldown reduction on the way, and then here 2 points only, not all the way to the damage but just all the way here to the cooldown. And now we're moving on to the second god skill tree, which only people who have the god skill DLC, which is included in the season pass that has all the DLCs past and future, and also by the way the Magnus edition includes a season pass with it, so you get all the DLCs with that too. So on this side we're getting Hunting Feast Master. This is for more health regeneration, and on the way we're grabbing Winds of Isha. It's not a bad one. This one kind of you probably won't be standing in it most of the time. At least the way I play the build, I'm moving a lot, but sometimes I would stay in place and try to stack this with this one and with this one with some other sources like the Guardian Spirit, and then it would work well. But that's it, there's not that much to say about it. I'm focusing mostly on the cooldown reduction. As you can see, there's 35, so there's some cooldown reduction on the way here and some cooldown reduction on the way here. Normally I would have gone for health regeneration setup. Over here there's 2%, here there's 1, here there's 1, then I can grab this and this, but this time I decided to focus on the cooldowns so I can have this more spammy. You can see 4-second cooldown, spinning blades heroic. So that's it for the god skills. Let's show you now the skill combination and the passives. For the skills, you're gonna see that I'm kind of focusing around the spinning blade heroic and skills that would support it, so I can be spamming it. And first of all, this is a fewer crippling blade basic. You can replace it with Master Archer or Sure White Arrow basic. Then Spinning Blade's heroic, the bread and butter, the main source of damage of the build the way I played. Then next we have Hungry Root Superior, which gives us damage reduction. It also does a little bit of damage, but the main reason I take it is for proccing Duelist Chain Reaction and maybe for the damage reduction, because I've got some other sources of it. Then Winds of Isha Mastered. It's pretty nice, it gives us some damage that adds up. It also gives us some regeneration, and that regeneration translates into damage when we are using Executors. And it's pretty nice because with that wow of a cooldown, 11 seconds, and when I have things like Master Archer Bow and Guardian, the Guardian Ring and Amber Talisman, it does add up to less than 11 seconds most of the time. Then we've got Barb Brambles Mastered, which is great. It also adds up as damage. You may not see big numbers, but when you spam a ton of Brambles, like just look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the best thing is you can spam them in the same place and have like 7, 8 of those, all of them proccing stuff like the Master Archer Bow and the Ring of the Guardian and the Amber Talisman, and it's gonna be amazing for your cooldowns. It also does damage, by the way. You may not see the big numbers as I said, but those damage numbers keep proccing damage over time ticks, and when there's so many of those, it does help with the damage. It may not be your main source of damage, but I'm gonna say that's the second or third best source of damage. So probably those three things, this and this, are your sources of damage for the build right now. So it also can proc things like legendary healing, but more about legendary healing and the other legendary ranks at the end of this segment. Now here we have Queen's Wrath, just the basic one, another source of health regeneration to give us damage. It also swells and poisons the enemies within the area. Then we move on to Guardian Spirit, which is something that I think could be called wiggle room. It's flexible, you can remove it if you don't want it. I take it because sometimes I might find myself standing static, although most of the times I'm moving, and when I do, it's nice to have that damage reduction and that health regeneration for extra damage. Things you could consider here: Tactical Retreat Superior or Tactical Retreat Mastered. You could consider things like Lone Hunter Superior or Lone Hunter Mastered. Then other things that might be worth considering would be, let's see, I think Follow Tracks is also worth considering. Whether it's Superior or Mastered, it's up to you. I still think Superior is the better option. So those are the options you could consider for that one. Another option would be to consider putting Hunting Feast Mastered instead of Superior, and then taking here something that would be a superior version. So if you take one of the superior things I suggested, even if it's Guardian Spirit Superior, just for the damage reduction, you can upgrade this because you've got 1 point and you're gonna get 4 points. So that's it about how you can modify the setup. There's things like padded armor you can try implementing, but you have to be taking crit hits, and the way I play the build, I avoid getting hit in general, let alone crit hits. So there's that. Then here, Duelist Chain Reaction you can get from the invasions. It's over here. I suggest take this corruption resistance and this corruption resistance and then go for the Duelist Chain Reaction. If it's still hard, then take this and this corruption resistance and then try again. And another hint for new players, in case you don't know it, if you're gonna be using some of the invasion rings, like Ring of Resonance goes well, the others don't go that well with this setup. Once you complete this node and this node and this node, do not click on the ring rewards. Like, do this on Chaos 10. Complete those, not Chaos 10, but do those nodes on rank 10, those 3 nodes. Then once you've completed those 3 nodes, go back from rank 10 to rank 1. Collect the rings on rank 1, switch to rank 2, collect the rings on rank 2, switch to rank 3, collect the rings on rank 3, and so on, starting from the bottom, going all the way up. Otherwise, if you collect the rings on rank 10, you're not gonna be able to get the rewards for ranks 1 through 9, because the notes here would have already been collected. At least that's how it used to be in the Forges update. I just don't want to test it on the current version of the game, because I might end up losing a reward, because that's what testing it would be. So just a friendly advice there, how to do those. A bit of off topic, but hopefully it's helpful to the new players. Then we've got Hero of the Desert, which you get by completing quests in the Tomb King's DLC. Then Blessing of the Forest Superior, as I said, health regeneration, pretty nice, and it's for all players, and it's permanent. You don't have to do anything like, for example, with this one. Then Master of Poison Superior. Why Superior? Well, it's more damage than Mastered, and it's nice. Poison damage and duration increased. This one is poison damage increased and has a chance to swallow enemies. You don't need that really. Now Hunting Fist Superior, just because we don't have points, but I told you how you could rework the skill tree to kind of maybe get the mastered version. This one is 25 chance to get a healing area on the ground after killing an enemy for everyone. It regenerates your HP, it helps you slow the enemies, and so on. That's it for the skills. Now quick message about the legendary ranks. What you would want is to probably start by maxing out reinforcement, because this is a cooldown build and it really benefits using reinforcement. Eventually, if you're doing easy content like up to Chaos 7, 8, punishment is great. If you're doing something like Chaos 9 or even trying Chaos 10, but I wouldn't suggest sowing on this build Chaos 10, then you would want to stack endurance and crushing. And eventually, once you have enough points, you might want to invest into healing, because this one would be able to proc legendary healing. Until yesterday, I didn't have enough levels and I was trying to max out this and this without spending any points into healing, and now I've started moving on to having some points into healing and trying to get the chance there. But my guess would be it's best first to use this, next start investing into this one, then once you have enough into this one you can invest into this one, and I think enough is 30-35% chance and maxed out damage. Eventually have points to do this for more and so on. Legendary Rage is broken, so don't use it until they fix the explosions to actually start triggering. And that's it for the skills. Next you're gonna see some information about the items I suggest using with this build. And here is some information about the items I suggest using. First of all, the bread and butter of the build to give you a lot of damage would be Executors. And apart from Executors, you might want a Master Archer Bow, an Ember Talisman, a Ring of the Guardian, and then for the other ring there are some choices. There's one ring which I don't own, which gives you 50% damage reduction, but drains your energy. It may not be best to use it there, but it's something you might want to experiment if you want survivability. If you want to sacrifice damage and get survivability, Chitin Links is a great choice if you get one with nice rows. Ring of Vitality is amazing as well, if you got a good one. Another thing that goes well is Ring of the Spirits. It would keep your HP and energy up. It's nice, it's amazing if you have a good rolled one. More about what's a good roll later. So Untamed Ring could give you more damage and help with the cooldowns, but you have to be picking up Bloodlust Orbs. And since we're moving all the time, I guess picking up Bloodlust Orbs would not be difficult. As long as you have a good rolled Untamed Ring and want some more damage, pick it. And the same rule applies to Iron Bark Ring. It requires you to move, but it gives you damage reduction, so you gotta move around, pick up those Bloodlust Orbs and get that damage reduction. From the invasion rings, I would suggest a Void Ring of Shadows. I'm using Ring of Shadows because, well, I don't have a better one, so look at the rows: cooldown, crit chance, crit damage, health regeneration. Only the counterattack damage seems wasted there. So something that would work would be Ring of Resonance, because you're using cooldown skills a lot, and that extra explosion and stun might help greatly with both damage and survivability and just utility. So I think that's it for the rings. Avoid Poisoned Ring, avoid Ring of Shadows unless it's really good rolled one and you don't have a better choice. Ring of Dexterity, I'd say stay away from it. I don't think it's worth using. Um, and yeah, that's it about which rings I would recommend, but you definitely need Ring of the Guardian, unless you think you can deal with it without getting those cooldown procs. I mean, if you don't have a good rolled one, you might as well pick whatever you've got until you get a good rolled one. The same would apply to the Ember Talisman, but I would suggest sticking with the Ember Talisman, even if you sacrifice the Ring of Guardian or the Master Archer bow. At least use the Ember Talisman, because it's gonna keep your energy up without needing to spam daggers, and that means more Brambos that you could spam. So overall it's great. Another thing that's important, of course, is the set. You want to be using the Eternal Queens, or also known as Queen Chosen set, which gives you that poison aura and also gives you 200% extra damage to the poison skills, together with the Spinning Blades Heroic, which is your main source of damage. So what rows do you wanna go after? First of all, the helmet is the only armor that can give you cooldown reduction. So that would be priority number 1. Priority number 2, I'd say HP and HP regeneration, and priority number 3, armor. Anything else like cost reduction, resistance to damage over time, energy and things like that are just bonuses that you can just add up, but they're not on top of the priority, so focus on the priority rows first. Here you want priority number 1 HP and health regeneration, priority number 2 armor, and then you want things like cost reduction, energy, resistance to damage over time, stuff like that overall. The same applies to this one. Priority number 1 HP, health regeneration, priority number 2 armor, and the rest is just quality of 5 bonuses. Now for the boots, again priority number 1 HP and HP regeneration, then priority number 2 armor, and maybe movement speed would not be bad as a priority number 2 or 3, and then after that fill it with whatever you think you need. So the gauntlets are the one piece of equipment of armor that can give you damage and crit damage. So here I would say priority number 1 damage, priority number 2 HP and HP regeneration, priority number 3 probably would be armor, crit damage, and then fill with some of the other things I mentioned. So for the executors, you would want priority number 1 crit chance and cooldown reduction and damage. Those 3 things you would prefer to have them. Then priority number 2 probably after those 3 things would be HP, crit damage, and the rest would be fillers like maybe cost reduction or armor piercing. Actually armor piercing above cost reduction. So ideally you would have cooldown reduction, crit chance, damage, HP, crit damage, and maybe armor piercing. I don't think you can get health regeneration on the weapon and offhand. So for just Master Archer bow you cannot get crit chance, but you can get more crit damage. That's why crit damage is a little bit higher on the priority, but you still want cooldown reduction, priority number 1 together with damage. Then priority number 2 you probably put HP, because you can get a lot more here than on a dagger. And then after that, after those 3 things, you're gonna try and get crit damage, then armor piercing, and then just fill with some other stuff. I think damage over time is something you might wanna avoid, but for a trash row, for a fewer row, it's not that bad because you still do some damage over time. You can get damage over time here as well, but avoid it if you can. If you can prioritize what I said, to do so. So for the rings and amulets, you would want the exact same rows, except on the amulet you can also row armor. But armor shouldn't be that high on the priority. The things you want the most are crit chance, and then second would be cooldown reduction. You also want damage, flat damage, and you want HP. And you also want health regeneration. So I would say crit chance and cooldown reduction would be priority number 1. If you have to decide which one of the two to get, if it's a number talisman, you can sacrifice some cooldown. If it's a Ring of the Guardian, you can maybe sacrifice some cooldown and get the crit chance prioritized. Because we do have now more cooldown from the passives, from the God skill tree, but of course you would want to get the cooldown if you can. So let's say you get crit chance and cooldown. Next you want damage and health regeneration, and number 5 would be probably your HP. And then after that things like armor piercing are not bad, or maybe I don't think crit damage would be nice, but you can try and get it if you can. But yeah, the rest would be just up to you. And the same applies to the ring, except on the ring, as I said, you cannot get armor. Armor is a good fewer for the amulet, but for the ring you don't have that option. So I think that's kind of it for the gear when it comes to what rows, what stats you might want to be looking for. Overall, hope everything was clear to you guys. Now let's show you something about the blessings. The blessings I like using are the ones for flat damage and HP, and the ones for only HP. So how do we do those? Quick demonstration. First, if you want only HP, it's simple. 6 green fragments in the 6 slots, and of course never forget the God token, because the God token, you can see, between 12,000 and 20,000 turns into between 18,000 and 20,000. So from 60% to 100% it goes to 90% to 100% bracket. Now what do we do if we want damage and HP mixed? This is the one with 8,000 HP and 3,600 damage. So this is the lowest damage but the most HP you can get from this mix. Now if you wanna switch things up, you can do it like that, and that gives you 6,000 HP, but it gives you 420 more damage than before. So 2,000 less HP, 420 more damage. And if you wanna do that again for another 420 more damage but another 2,000 less HP, this is the combo. So 4 green, 2 red, 3 green, 3 red, or 2 green, 4 red. That's the options. So after this I will now show you some more gameplay. I think this is pretty clear regarding what to take, what to look for when it comes to rows. Now let's do the gameplay demo. So for this final gameplay demo segment, I wanted to just tell you a little bit of how I play the build. Not sure if you've seen the footage I included in this build video until so far during the skills and gear segment, but you're probably noticing something, that when I'm doing those upgraded relicants, I'm constantly on the move, trying to kill little guys before I lose that streak, that streak that goes up to 50 times at the bottom. So sometimes I might be fighting an elite, but I would switch targets to a nearby a little guy, nearby trash mob, just so I can kill him, then I can go back to the elite, just so I can keep that kill streak going. This helps completing things kind of faster. It helps filling up that wood quality bar faster, and overall you can see, as I mentioned at the start of the video, it's all about moving. Keep spamming those spinning blades, use brambles when needed, when you can, when there's an opportunity, and constantly reuse Winds of Isha as soon as it's ready. Even if you don't stay into it for the health regeneration and damage buff, you're at least gonna be getting some extra damage off of it. So definitely nice though. I mean, if you stay still, the way I've configured it, I get 3 health regeneration things. Winds of Visha, actually 4. Winds of Visha, Queen's Wrath, I get the proc where that happens when I kill an enemy, Hunting Feast, and I get my Blessings of the Forest. And it's pretty nice. So 2 god skills for health regeneration, 2 passives for health regeneration, and another one, a 5th one, which is Guardian Spirit, which as I said in the skill segment is kind of optional. You may want to replace it with something else. On bosses like this one, there's a nice opportunity to keep dodging around him, try to keep yourself at the back of the boss. Do a spinning blade, do a bramble. Do a spinning blade, do a bramble, and constantly dodge. Use Winds of Issue when you can, try to make sure that you're dodging inside the Queen's Wrath if possible. And just avoid those sandstorms on the ground. Many bosses would have some sort of corruption marks or sandstorms or whatever on the ground. You might wanna avoid this. And just keep spamming your DPS and eventually things end up being well. If you've enjoyed this video and want to be notified for when I upload more content like this for this game or other wooters of the hack and slash or shooter wooter variety, you could subscribe to my channel to get those content updates, and you can get notified by clicking on the bell button as well. So hope you enjoyed it, hope everything was clear. If something wasn't, share your comments, questions, etc. in the section below. Keep it cool, folks. Thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye.